Showing here. I'm live, baby. We're back. It's Friday. I know all of you have been waiting for this. It's another Friday. It's another wonderful day because it's Friday. And I got a lot that, well, not so much a lot, but some things have been happening at my place of business that are not very favorable to anybody. And I want to be away from there. I don't want to be doing this garbage job anymore. So when it hits Friday, I get very excited, and then Saturday comes and I get a little gloomy, and then Sunday, I don't want to be bothered. But here we are, and it is a gloomy day here as well. It's kind of chilly out. For some reason, it still has this chill in the air I don't like. That should have been gone a while ago. But I tell you, that frigid winter we had is still sticking around. It's like 60 degrees out. I took my walk this morning. Didn't wear a jacket or anything. I was just wearing my wrestling shirt. These wrestling shirts are great. I think they're made of wool or something, or cotton. And they really give you a lot more insulation than you would realize. So when it is winter time, I wear the wrestling shirts. I really got to get some new t-shirts. Well, I know a shirt that I'm going to get for myself in the next about a year will be the Zelda shirt to culminate the release of the Zelda game or Zelda movie, which has been pushed forward, by the way, folks. The Zelda movie is now said to be getting released on April 30th of next year. And it is going to be ridiculous. I have already announced to everybody that they are going to be there. And I am going to purchase a t-shirt for at least one other person. But from what we're talking about with weather, it right now is 62 degrees, but apparently in the next few days it's going to rise. And of course, next week is going to be the release of Tales of Arise. So it'll be the first Tales of game that I play. It was only about $50. And the reason why I'm getting that is because it was highly appreciated by so many of the so-called gaming journalists. So we're going to see. I'm going to play through it. And I will let you know exactly what kind of game. I've seen Tales of games, and they're very interesting in their format. They're turn-based. It's not even turn-based. It's almost like hack and slash. But I do know that there was a Tales of game called Vesperia, not Vesperia, Vesperia, that starred my beloved Christina Vina. I have no idea what the hell it's about, other than monsters who watch them, monsters. And I have to trim my eyebrows, and I have to do a lot of other things for grooming purposes. But the reason why I'm here today, and I seem to be by myself, I could wait a second. In fact, I want to look some stuff up here. So let's go like this. Let's go with and let's see what we got. Still set for 2026. Bandai Namco's website. I, of course, am over the age of 8. Yes, accept all. Yes. And still not saying. Okay. Anyway. All right. So the reason why I'm here now, there wasn't much going on this week. We had a big announcement of Nintendo officially saying that 19.8 million consoles were sold as of the end of March 31st of this year, which would be 9 months, which still averages well over 2 million consoles per month. And from what data that has been taken since, it is pretty obvious that it is well over 20 million consoles sold overall. Now, I don't try to get into any of that because it seems as though the internet has this unhealthy fascination with Nintendo at this point. I would even call it a borderline obsession. And the whole idea or aspects of a number of consoles sold, for some reason, really entices people to speak one way or another. In fact, sales as a whole have become the sort of the guidepost that so many online wannabe critics consider is the most important aspect until it's something that they like and it doesn't sell. Now, I'll give you, for instance, people have recently been releasing videos about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which, by the way, last I checked, isn't going to be taken off shelves at any point. It is one of the higher selling Metroid Prime games ever made, but for some reason they believe that the sales were abominable because none have hit 1 million. Well, it was released on 2 separate consoles, so even if they both hit 800,000, which we've already established within the first month, the Switch 2's version did reach over 800,000. So it's hard to imagine it didn't hit over 1 million because Nintendo didn't show it. Doesn't mean anything. But whatever the case, I'm sure it has hit about 2 million copies sold. That would be one of the highest Metroid Prime sales. So the concept that it didn't make any number of, you're wrong, and it doesn't mean that the game is bad. It's actually the best Metroid Prime game ever made. But speaking of games ever made, one of the more appreciated games in recent history, Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, which was announced over a year ago when the Switch 2 was originally announced, still doesn't have a release date. However, I am here now to say to people that with my thorough investigation of whatever links I can find following typing into the search bar of a Google search engine, Elden Ring Tarnished Edition apparently has been granted a July release date officially. Now, you can't pre-order it on Nintendo's eShop, but you can pre-order a physical copy through Amazon. I am going to get it digitally. Bria, there you are. There's Bria now. The stream has officially begun. Bria is here. Bria, it's a pleasure to have you back as always. Thank you for coming in. I don't know if our time slots are different, but yeah, Elden Ring, apparently the rumored date is July. Now, the reason why I'm saying the rumored date is the beginning of July is because there's no official word on it. And you still can't pre-order it on the Nintendo eShop. But you can pre-order physical copies on Amazon, which makes no sense to me. One of the main producers of From Software games has assured people that both Elden Ring Tarnished Edition and Duskbloods is coming out this year. The rumored release date for Duskbloods is, once again, November. On top of that, there is also a rumor that the release date of Fortune's Weave, that being Fire Emblem, would be September 17th, which I don't buy. I'm going to tell you why. Because that is a very generous summer release. It was originally announced in the last official massive Nintendo Direct, which I think we were only going to get about maybe 2 or 1 of these a year at this point. And we'll get into why. But the reason that I say that release date can't be 100% accurate is when it was announced, they said summer. Now, if you want to be technical, you can say, well, September 17th is the summertime. It is. In a way, it is. But it's the summertime, as in it's like 2 days from the end of summer into the beginning of fall. Now, seeing as how we're still in spring, I don't want to think of fall, fuck winter. I don't want either one of them right now. I just want spring and then slowly move into the summer and then stay there for as long as is planetarily possible, because I don't want to think about winter for another, 5 generations or so. I know it's going to come sooner than later, but I just don't want to think about it at this point. Hopefully it won't be that bad a winter this year. I doubt it. And I know for a fact that my area will not handle it well. So I'd like to just stay in the nice warmth of TVs glowing warming glow. So what I believe, because the Nintendo president himself, and the reason why I don't say their names is because I have a hard time pronouncing Japanese names correctly, but the Nintendo president himself mentioned how they are shooting for at least one exclusive every month. So you have Yoshi's Magic Book this month, which people who were assured it would be for kids have played the game and they've realized it's a lot more intuitive than that. You have Star Fox's re-release next month, which I have to pre-order next week when I pick up Tales of Arise. You have Splatoon Raiders in July. Then there's an empty slot there in August. So I believe that Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is going to be released in August. Now, oh my God, Gaius is here. Yay, Gaius. Now we're talking. Two of my favorites. And what's going on, guys? Now, I tell you, I'm loving life. I'm here. I'm happy. I'm with you guys. You guys are the best. Anyone that's watching this post stream, please like and subscribe. We're 26 subscribers away from 800. 26. It's only taken about 17 years, but come on now. This channel was somewhat dormant for a while. We're getting there. But I was just saying to Peruya and anyone else that was watching beforehand, the Elden Ring release date rumor is July 10th, I think, or something like that. But since you still can't pre-order it on the Switch 2, I don't feel comfortable with that. However, I do still think it's going to be the end of June or whatever because of the fact, just so you know, Elden Ring Tarnished Edition is a Nintendo exclusive, somewhat unofficially. Because although it is Elden Ring, it includes a couple new classes and some skins, whatever. There's some more stuff in it than what you would get on a Sony or a PC or an Xbox version. But what I was saying to Boria before as well is I think we're only going to get maybe one or two massive Nintendo Directs a year. Now, we just had this investors meeting the last 2 weeks ago, whatever, where we found out that at least 20 million Switch 2s have been sold since, it was 19.8 officially, 19.8 million officially from the release date of June to the end of March. But seeing as how we have found that thanks to games like Tomodachi Life, not necessarily that, but Pokemon Pokopia, which I was watching somebody go through 100% of it, and it does look pretty interesting. I am not really into survival or cozy games that much, but if you do want to spill your life away on some things, it does look like it would be a wholesome, enjoyable experience, especially for those of you that know what these things are, what their names are at least. I am not one of those people. I am still fidgeting on the fence on whether or not I will get wins and waves, because if I do get wins, I will get waves and vice versa. I would not get just one. I'd get both. That is up to you guys. You have to tell me if you want to see me play wins and waves. I am not a Pokemon type. I can vaguely grasp why people like it, but I can't get into it. I'm sorry. And I've watched walkthroughs of virtually every one of them that I've seen. I mean, I know there are like billions of them. To say that I've watched walkthroughs of virtually everyone would be like to say I've watched walkthroughs of virtually every Shin Megami Tensei spinoff or Mario game. I think it's practically impossible because there are just so many of these things. I mean, you're talking about like the whole, what was that? The one they just released, Raku Day, whatever his name is, the one that kind of shows up in Nocturne if you have the newer versions, because originally I think it was Dante from Devil May Cry that showed up in Nocturne. But you have that one, the Demon Summoners, the Demon Hackers, the Soul Hacker. You got like a million. There's just so many. So I've seen the mainline ones, the color ones, the emeralds and the reds and the sapphires and the so ons and so forth. And I get the appeal. For those of you that are waiting with bated breath, is that my eye? Oh, hold on. Okay, that's just my eye. So people that are waiting in bated breath for like fully voiced over versions, they're not going to happen. All right, folks. I'm sorry to tell you this. You got to understand, Nintendo doesn't do voiceover work. And when they do, everyone despises it. It's like Metroid Other M, right? Well, how come Samus doesn't talk? Well, she talked, and then you complain that she talked too much. It's like Metroid Prime, well, Miles McKenzie. They don't do voiceover work. Mario doesn't have voiceover work. Zelda doesn't have voiceover work. In fact, there's the whole controversy about the movie itself and whether or not Link will be speaking. He does talk. So does Samus. They just don't talk during the game to the people, but you'll always see someone asking Link in a game, including Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. You'll see them asking him about like the scenario, and he'll move his hands around. And so he talks. His words just don't really become dialogue. Now, to be fair, they probably will. To be fair, he didn't talk in Echoes of Wisdom because after he went into the void, he didn't, whatever it was called, I forgot. But in other games, he does talk. I don't really know. And we're going to see when the movie comes out. It wouldn't bother me. I don't care. Like, I'm going to go see the Zelda movie to go see the Zelda movie. I trust Nintendo can tell a good story because they always do, or typically they do. I find it hilarious how the United States has the fucking balls to talk about Super Mario Galaxy movie not having a central point where it did. And then you like stupid ass movies that are all over the place. And, again, it's the pretentious, rich, gated community jackasses that run the internet who think their opinions are so important, they're fact. And really what it comes down to is they see a trailer and they get excited and it's good. And it can't be bad because they said it was good originally. And then they see a trailer and they don't think it's good. And it's bad. And then they try to conjure up all of this behind the scenes stuff to act like this is evidence why it wasn't any good. It's the same thing with the video games. Well, these games had heart and soul. Okay. Just so that you know, there were a lot of throwaway games in the 80s as well. A lot of throwaway games in the 70s as well. A lot of throwaway games in the 90s as well, because the video game industry has been and always will be about making fucking money. That's all it is. It is not fucking art. And when you have games like Mixtape or any of these other so-called deeply personal stories that get released, produced, and more or less it's just you watching something unfold before your eyes without having any real mechanical input, you have to realize that is the responsibility of the so-called influencers who keep buying and playing Sony exclusive consoles and games that try to be movies, specifically, not so that they can be artists, but specifically so they can win awards and get heralded by journalists to sell more copies. That's what it comes down to, folks. That's what the gaming industry is. That's what it will always be. This is one of the reasons why Hollywood isn't art. It's dog shit because they don't know what cinema is. And when you finally get to see something resembling cinema, you numbnuts go off on it because, well, I don't like the character, when you don't even know what a plot is, okay? I say this constantly. It's because it needs to be repeated, seeing as how it becomes beyond infuriating to hear these people complain about certain things. So when you live in your bubble where PC gaming only competes against Sony when PC gaming is non-competition because nobody can afford PC gaming outside the few million pretentious you-know-whats that influence the internet, and nobody really buys Sony PlayStation anymore, except here in the United States. And really it's just Nintendo, everybody else, and you scarcely recognize that. Oh, thank you so much, guys. Now I'm going to try to get into it. Like, I really want to make a video about why, and it might be too late, but why Shin Megami Tensei 5's original version was better than Vengeance. And it's not even close. And I cannot do movie reviews anymore. The closest thing I can do to a movie review is when I go see a movie and then I come back and tell you about it. That's the closest I can do to a movie review. I cannot do the scene by scene thing. I tried the picture thing. I got to avoid getting back in the bad state of YouTube. It's kind of like I don't get why so many other people that post videos on YouTube, I'm sorry, content creators, excuse me, pretentious rich people. I didn't mean to insult you, to lead people into believing that you just post videos like us plebeians, but I really don't understand how the so-called chief content creators that are making money more or less, excuse me while I pick my ear, making money more or less off of YouTube's warm embrace, open arms, inviting those that can get clicks on advertisements. I find it hilarious when they complain as they take material from other sanctioned, copywritten aspects and then wonder why they're getting like flagged all the time. Guys, welcome to the United States where you have no rights. It's a difficult place to live. So I, of course, have toned it down and just do video game reviews. Now, video game reviews don't really get any clicks because of the fact that by the time I review the video game, it's 3 years later than when all of the preliminary walkthroughs and everything have already been posted. But then again, I see other people like Under the Mayo or whatever, and they release their videos kind of late too. But when you've got 150,000 subscribers, you can do that. I can't do that. But, we'll see. Again, get me past 800 subscribers into 1,000 subscribers. Maybe things will change. We'll see. Oh, by the way, I'm done with the chief writing of my 7th novel. I'm going to now do the editing myself, which means I have to read it over again. So hopefully not too much longer because I got so many things I want to work on. One of them is not Overwatch. I can't fucking stand it. When is Marvel Rivals coming out on the Switch too? Well, I guess we'll find out when the Nintendo Direct is released in the next couple of weeks. There should be a Nintendo Direct soon because they had their investors meeting, so they got their updates on when all of these titles that have been previously announced are going to be released officially. They're getting new footage, new material to put together. So most likely we're going to have a nice Nintendo Direct. And one of the things I love about a Nintendo Direct is that it seems so friendly. It's in production, but we don't know it. Oh, by the way, this is really, okay, you want to talk about a rumor. Here's my rumor, okay? Because last week I was talking about how badly I wanted to see. Now listen, Mass Effect's trilogy, as I mentioned before, it's not without its charm. They ruined it with the second one, but it's still fun to play. Now, I believe that if I were to go back and play it again, thanks to games like Fire Emblem, whatever, I would find massive flaws more so than I did before. Massive, no pun intended. But at the same time, there is still a black area in my heart for that broken ass, not so great series. Again, not without its charm. It's not bad. It's just not great, right? However, there is if you're interested and you know the material, you can apply for a job with a company called Demiurge, which to some Kabbalists, I believe, and other ancient mythological types, they felt that creature was the chaos that all of life came from. Demiurge is putting together a video game that apparently is an open world RPG. Now, it's going to be on the Switch too. But you'll ask, what's the significance of Demiurge? Apparently, this was the group that put together the Mass Effect Trilogy Legendary Edition on every console but the Switch One. Once again, another connection to a possibility of Mass Effect's trilogy being on the Switch 2. If that happens, I would definitely suggest you guys watch me, because I'd probably just live stream. No, I definitely play through it if I have the time. But I would definitely live stream it on YouTube, on my gaming channel. That Beria he comes on every now and then. I'd love to see you guys, but I know I am on way too late for you. I know that you are on the other side of the ocean. So your time frame is completely different. And I appreciate you being here with me now. But actually, it's still kind of early for you. But you're a young man. I'm sure you're trying to live a real life, not like me. But I would definitely suggest you guys watch me do that because aside from all the gamer poop references, you will see somebody that knows that thing inside and out. Oh yeah, definitely. That would be great. You guys, I would be able to recite lines before they came out. I would talk about the history of everything that was involved. I get right into what they should have changed, what they should have done differently while it was happening in real time. It would be a blast. It would be an absolute blast. I could probably stream that game for at least an hour because I just was obsessed with that series. I was obsessed with that series. I actually had a little bit of a sub-series on this channel called Mass Hysteria. I even still have my Mass Effect N7 t-shirt, which for whatever reason I got it small. I'm pretty sure I thought I was getting large, but it came out small. Eastern Standard Time. Eastern Standard Time. I am on the gaming channel. I stream about, it depends on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, it would be 1:40-ish p.m. And every other day it would be sometime in the morning, sometime around 8. Like tomorrow, I'll probably be on at around 9 after my morning workout. Sunday about 9:30 because I have to go to church first. And then Wednesday and Friday, I typically stream about 9. So usually around 9:30. That's the gaming channel. That's CD Bookman Gaming. If you haven't subscribed to that, appreciate it if you do. See, like the Civilization 7 channel that I have, I don't really care about that one. And then the long play one, I don't really care about that one either. These two channels are the ones that I care about a lot. So I kind of try to keep things going. But we don't have any kind of project on the main gaming channel until Friday when Tales of Arise comes out. I believe that game is going to probably take me at least 50 videos, which I would prefer it doesn't, because in little more than a month afterwards, I have to pick up Star Fox. Now, Star Fox, you could play through the entirety of it. I'm not going to 100% it when I first play through it for the gaming channel, but you can play through the entirety of it in like 3 hours. So I'm not really worried about Star Fox. I could probably finish that in about 5 or 6 videos, maybe. I did that before. I know that on the gaming channel, I'm pretty sure I played through the Wii U version. If I can double check that, I'm pretty sure I played through that one, but I'd have to double check. And I don't think it took longer than like a few hours. All right, God, she's hot. Holy mother of God! It's not telling her. Ooh. Okay, so let me just go to my channel. By the way, anyone know how much it costs for Crunchyroll? Because Crunchyroll has my Hero Academia and I'm trying to watch the entirety of it. Ooh, there's a subscriber. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, so let me look at my playlists. I'm pretty sure it's here. But we have to go all the way back. Oh, by the way, Darksiders 4. We're probably going to get an update on that. I know we're going to get an update on the next Direct, which, as I said, will take longer to come out. Yeah, there it is. Star Fox Zero. I did play through it. 11 videos. And I think they were about half an hour each. Uncharted 4 is on there. The first Doom's on there. All my Smite videos were on there. Dishonored 2. Look at these games I played for you guys. Rise of the Tomb Raider, Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin, Halo 5 Guardians, The Order 1886. Oh, man. Jeez. Lords of the Fallen. Dragon Age Inquisition was the one that got me to be a partner. Oh, thank you so much, guys. You're so awesome, man. I love you guys. You guys are the best. But, yeah, the gaming channel was doing dick for the first year. Yeah, I think it was more than a year because I got my capture device for Christmas of 2012, And then I made the channel in 2013, and it was more than a year because Dragon Age Inquisition didn't come out till 2014. So, yeah, 2014. That's when it started. I was doing the Let's Play, and because of the fact that I was playing it on the Xbox 360, not realizing that all that import feature shit didn't matter. No, I don't have. I have nothing Sony related because Sony sucks, and I want nothing to do with them. And I hope they burn in hell. Not the people. I want the company to just be, at least the gaming aspect of it, because they make nothing but trash. And I've been burned by them so many times. I just can't with them. Plus, it's like $700. Video games for me are not important enough to be worth $700 for a console. And you're going to pay $700 for a console to play what? Rise of the Tomb Raider? Ghost of Yote? Like, it's the same fucking game. It's the same game. It's The Order 1886. It's The Last of Us. The only thing they change is maybe the setting and the characters looks themselves, but considering they're all the same characters, so all those games that would be the PC type games that you would play, like the simulators and all those that are doable, they're all coming out on the Switch 2 anyway. So what's the point? That's it right there, guys. Has got it. $80 AAA titles that suck. Like one of the guys I work with, that he's like, well, yeah, Sony, the only reason what's keeping Sony alive, aside from their bullshit sales numbers, is the United States. I know that occasionally Europe goes nuts with the PlayStations and everything, but it'll teeter off. The United States, they're still buying these things here. And it's like, guys, you can barely work in the United States. Everything is too fucking expensive. Why are you spending that money on a place that you either get nothing or just get a Switch 2? There's really nothing that Sony offers that warrants buying it. I've been through that. I've been through the 1s and the 2s and the 3s. And listen, I'll put it to you like this about Sony, because when I was growing up, playing video games you were a loser that couldn't pick up a chick. And forget women. Women didn't play video games when I was a kid, okay? This is not to offend anybody. Please don't tell me I offend. This is a fact. My sister would play like Super Mario Brothers. Xbox, no, that's Microsoft. Fuck Microsoft. Pardon my Latin, I don't speak French. Fuck you, Microsoft. You two need to burn in hell. Aside from the fact that all of the people that are involved with Microsoft that run into everything, maybe not all of them, I don't want to be too prejudiced, but the vast majority of them are degenerate sexual predators. Aside from that, I'm sure Sony's got a bunch of them too. And hey, maybe Nintendo does as well. Who the fuck knows? But aside from that, they created Windows 11. And anyone that would create the demon spawn known as Windows 11 needs to be taken out of business, because this operating system is nothing but primal Roman torture. I despise everything about it. Every week it needs another fucking update that takes, oh yeah, that's right, Bill Gates is coming after me. Hey, Bill, look. There's an underage kidnapped child over there. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'll take that back. Sorry. That's a little offensive. I know they love doing that kind of stuff, but I shouldn't be saying it out loud to people. I'm very sorry. But hey, if I was an influencer, I probably would be in trouble for that. And hey, maybe they'll go back and say, look what he said. He's, whatever. And I'm really just explaining what these cocksuckers do. So that's on them. I didn't do it. All right. I just bluntly stated it. But whatever the case, Windows 11 is so atrocious that every week you have to have another, and this is what happens. It's like if you are capable of owning a house with a back porch, or just a house in general with any porch, it's like when you know that the kids put the flaming bag of dog feces on your porch, you can smell it from a mile away, and then you go outside and you go, oh, come on. That's what Windows 11 is. Because you'll turn it on, it takes about 30 minutes to boot up, and you go, oh, don't tell me. And then you're seeing the loading light just not turn off for any reason. And well, that would be easy. Because okay, we can do that right now. Top 5 best first-party games from each of the 3 companies. We can do that right now. Nintendo, you have Mario, Zelda. I wouldn't say Metroid because it's for me best. Yes, Metroid is the best. But whether or not it sells, if it sells? Because I would throw Mario Kart, Wario Land, all that. I would throw that all in the Mario hub. That's like all of them. Super Smash Brothers is separate. Pokemon. So you got Pokemon, Mario, Zelda, Super Smash Brothers. That's a completely different thing. That is not Mario specific. And I would, in terms of classic, definitely Metroid. In terms of popularity, I would have to say Splatoon. Unless I'm wrong. Sony, you have The Last of Us. I can't even say Horizon. Okay, so we would say Splatoon. I can't even say Horizon because nobody buys it. So I would say you can't say Bloodborne because that was a one-shot deal. The Last of Us, God of War. Could you say Uncharted? Yeah, I mean, could you say they haven't done anything with Uncharted in years, but I guess you could say Uncharted. What are you gonna say, Crash Bandicoot? Can you say what's that thing? The Deck and whatever? Can you say that? They made one recently. Jackson Dexter or whatever, or Deck and Jackster or whatever the fuck it's called. Could you say that? Is that an exclusive? I don't think it is. Crash is active. Okay, so then, that's right. Crash is on Nintendo. That's right. I forgot. I was wondering why it was on Nintendo. Why the Switch one has Crash. What else is there? They have another one? I mean, the Ghost of games? Maybe. So what are we saying? Last of Us, Uncharted, Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yotai, those. Gears of War is Xbox. Right, Gears of War is Microsoft. So Microsoft, what do you got? Dishonored, Gears of War, Alan Wake, Halo, right? They have anything else? Forza, okay. Forza. Well, there you have it. I still don't even know what the 5th one of Sony's would be. So if you look at that, well, Mario comes first. Zelda comes second. In terms of popularity, I would say the original Ratchet and Clank. That's the one. Okay, Ratchet and Clank. All right, so that's the one. I'm thinking of something else. Sony Gran Turismo. Right, Jack and Deck. That's the one I was talking about. Right. So Jack and Deck's Ratchet and Clank, same shit. It's like when the Banjo-Kazooie people made the other one, the one with the whatever the hell. It's like the same thing. But yeah, so I would say that probably Master Chief and the original Kratos would be like the top 4 mascots. But I don't think those games are real. In terms of impact, in terms of importance to the video game industry, Metroid's got to be above all of them. Because everyone's trying to cop off Metroid. It would be Mario, Zelda, Metroid. I mean, those 3 right there, that's the fucking trinity right there, man. Right? Because when you make a platformer, what's it based off of? Like Astrobot with Sony. It's based off of Mario games. When you make an action-adventure game or a From Software game, especially a Miyazaki game, it's Zelda. And then, of course, we have the Metroidvania games. So there you have it. Boom, those 3. At that point, you have to ask, is God of War more important than... Right. So is God of War more important? Or is, maybe Halo. And Star Fox, but I'll tell you what, the reason why I don't say Star Fox is because Star Fox doesn't sell. Star Fox is not important, not in the sales department, because everyone's got a flight simulator or Rogue Squadron, for instance. Now, granted, Rogue Squadron is not somebody specific, but Rogue Squadron could be considered. Now, don't forget, the first one was the old arcade game from Atari from like 10,000 years ago. I totally forgot what that's called. It might be a Rogue Squadron game for all I know, or, Red One or whatever the hell it was called. But that one is definitely the forebearer of all the dogfight simulators. Then you talk about like the 1944s and 45 games, or 42, 43 games. But that was more like bird's eye view. Star Fox, the original Star Fox, was on the Super Nintendo. And that was like the first sort of like space flight popular simulator. Because don't forget, the original Star Fox was on the Super Nintendo. It sold millions of copies. And then, but then like the 64 sold 5+ million copies, and the Nintendo 64 didn't sell that many. I still say that if Nintendo released the Nintendo 64 in like 95, which would have been a lot to ask because the Super Nintendo just came out, and released the GameCube in like 98, those two consoles would have done a shit ton better. They came out too late because those were great consoles. And if the GameCube, because like if Nintendo 64 came out when people were still building cartridges, then it would have made more sense. But because everyone started getting to the CD-ROM thing, because it was cheaper, because they wanted to make money, not because it was art. If that was the case, that Nintendo got into the small disc for the GameCube earlier, it would have sold more, because they had some good exclusives, and great exclusives, and they had some great licenses from other companies. Good third-party support. But the reason why the GameCube didn't sell that much and didn't maintain that third party was because the fact it didn't sell. GoldenEye, yeah, that's a good point. That is, if you're talking about importance, yes, because that did really do a huge number. But then again, people would argue before that was Doom when it comes to before that was Wolfenstein when it comes to first-person shooters. Back when Wolfenstein was fun and not supposed to be like this fucking drama piece like they were trying to do in the later. I saw that, and I find it so hilarious. Again, the pretentiousness of these people. Wolfenstein originally was a gag. You weren't supposed to take it seriously. It had fucking Hitler in a robot suit. Okay, like it wasn't meant to be. You'd shoot one of the Nazi soldiers and they'd cry out, "My Lehman." It was not supposed to be taken seriously. So when they tried to take it seriously, it was a disgrace. It was a disaster. But of course, because pretentious rich kids that want to validate themselves and justify being gamer nerds, which throughout the course of my fucking life, being a gamer meant you were a loser. And being a loser meant nobody wanted to hang out with you, much less listen to what you had to say. We, who were computer science majors, would make fun of fucking gamers. Okay? And a couple of my friends, especially one of the guys I used to hang out with, was a monster nerd who I had to introduce him to not only all of his friends, but any woman he was interested in. So for us to make fun of you as of 1998, that goes to show you what video gaming was considered when I was growing up. And I had a Nintendo, and I had a Super Nintendo, and I had a Game Boy, and I had a Nintendo 64. But they were there as what games are meant to be, a fringe enjoyment. Like if I open my closet and I show you my Clue board game, my Monopoly board game, you hang out with your friends, you got nothing better to do, whoop out the Nintendo 64, play some GoldenEye or, WCW or WWF Raw, whatever it is that you had, and you had a good time. So the one thing I'll give Sony is this. When they released their perverse, disgusting, broken pile of shit known as the PlayStation 1, which they stole from Nintendo. Yeah, exactly, guy. And that's the thing, is that our parents didn't know anything about video games. Now, my generation and kids younger than me, they're having kids, and video games became a huge part of their life. And that's why I would give the Batman Christopher Nolan series of video games, I will give Sony PlayStation 1 that much, that they mainstream it. Now, they mainstream it, as I was saying, because of the perversion of wanting to see people getting eviscerated, wanting to see something more sexual, wanting to see stuff like that, because Nintendo was always considered, Nintendo was always considered for kids, but the reason why Nintendo went the family-friendly route was because after Atari bombed, mostly thanks to the sexualized games of that period that were hacked by people who were not involved with Atari at all, once that industry bombed, Nintendo, which was typically a family-friendly Disney card-making company that made like Game & Watch and other family-friendly arcade games since the 70s into the 80s and everything. Once they, exactly, General Custer, that is the notorious game title that I was thinking of, General Custer's Revenge. Where you play as a naked General Custer trying to get with a bunch of native or indigenous tribeswomen who had no clothes on. That was one of the many games, and Commodore 64 had games like that too. I always told that story of my cousin and me looking for a new game to play on our older cousins, Commodore 64. We found this thing called the Pied Piper of Hamelin. It was just some little red whatever playing with himself, and that's all it was. We had no idea. We were like 7 and 8. We had no idea what it was. We had no idea what that was referring to, nothing. So you had those games, and that completely killed the industry until Nintendo saved it with family-friendly games. So we got to that point, and then us degenerate assholes, my generation, Generation X, whatever, we wanted something more. We were getting horny. We were getting bloodthirsty, and the PlayStation 1 brought that to the home console. It sort of unified people in what would only be on PC gaming, which, let me repeat, even to this day, is only for the elite gaming community class because it's way too fucking expensive. It's way too expensive to play PC games. A PC console itself, like a PC gaming console, is going to be, well, the handhelds are over $1,000 because a PC CPU is over $1,200 at least. Then you have to upgrade the hardware every few years or so because it has to run Windows, which is a PC destroyer. And you can't say, well, get a Mac. Nobody codes for Mac. Nobody even cares about Mac. Maybe those like phone applications you can get on a Macintosh, but the big games do not even bother with Mac because their operating system is just nonsensical. So in order to be a PC gamer, exactly, $3,000 because it's 70 frames per second. You can't tell the difference. All right, I want like the Indiana Jones game just came out for the Switch 2. Now, I want everyone to understand this, okay? The Switch 2, the Switch 1, these are the only legitimate hybrids. They come with, I don't care if you can, get from some fucking like black market or something, a somewhat platform that allows you to play the Lenovo Buddy or the Microsoft Buddy or whatever on some kind of console that then becomes a home console. The games or the consoles themselves, the handhelds, are just handhelds out of the box. The Switch 1 and Switch 2 are the only consoles that you can play as both a handheld and a docked, and the docked console is up to speed with all the modern day consoles. So the Switch 2 is a PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series 1, the ones with the disc, not the digital only ones. And a Switch 1 is a PlayStation 4, Xbox One in the docked format. In the handheld format, it is a top-of-the-line handheld console. So it switches, hence the name, between two. Now, I know that's hard to imagine, but you can easily play. Like, for instance, Donkey Kong Bonanza would cause a lot of lag or whatever on any console because there is so much going on with that game. The color, the animation, that shit runs 60 frames per second at 1080 on the Switch 2 when it's docked. Okay? That would be any other console. It would run the same way, whether or not it would look as well or as fresh and and electrical and colorful as it does on the Switch 2 is another story. Same thing with Metroid Prime 4. So if Indiana Jones or Final Fantasy or whatever, games that were released on other consoles first, do not hit that 60 frames, 1080, whatever, when it's docked, that is on the company that made and ported the game. That is not on the Switch 2. Switch 2 can easily do it. Can easily play any of these games if you know how to utilize the hardware. And you know how to optimize it for both the docked and the handheld versions. This is just a fact, okay? If they can't do it, that's on them. And it would require some updates, and they want to get these games out fast because everybody knows that if you release a game on the Switch 2, it's going to sell. It's just that simple. And video games are about making money, not about making art. You pretentious types make it about making art, and that's not what they are. Sorry to tell you. So if you get a boring-ass game that acts like it's so artistic, it's a bad fucking game. Did you have fun playing it? Or did you cry and want to slit your wrists because it made you feel things? That it's a bad game? Because there isn't a video game in your life that should ever make you frown. It should make you smile. It should be fun. It should be enjoyable. It should be colorful. I almost spit out what's left of my nut. I was eating my almonds and whatever for my snack, and the shit never gets out of your teeth. So that I didn't want people to think I was spitting at you. But that's what it comes down to. So if you have a problem with that, blame the companies that tried to port it to the Switch 2. But what I laugh at is when, like, this Indiana Jones game just got released on the Switch 2. I'm looking at the comparisons between it, PlayStation 5, and Xbox, and they look exactly the same. Exactly. Right? Those consoles, it was built for a Microsoft console. It was transported to a PlayStation console. It looks exactly the same. But it runs 30 frames per second on the Switch 2. Does it fucking matter? Does it matter? I keep asking this question. Is it the same game? From Software games, which don't run 60 frames per second on any console, especially not universally throughout the course of the game, there is always lag, unless it's the older games. That game, whatever, are you being timed? Like, if it's a game that's like a first-person shooter, especially an online competitive shooter, yeah, you want to be at 60 frames. Right. You want to be at 60 frames because you can, if your frames are a little off, you can miss a shot that you need, or you can get shot down. Like, that's what was happening when I was playing the Switch 1 version of that fucking god-awful piece of shit Overwatch. That was what was happening with that, where I would get killed by something and be like, how'd that happen? Because I was behind. Then I got the Switch 2 version of it. Now my shot percentages are up, my deaths are down, my damage is up, because I'm in sync with everybody playing on PC and everything like that. So the games can do on the Switch 2, especially docked, what they do on everything else. It's up to the companies to be able to translate that. What's up, Emma? How you doing? Thanks for coming in. Welcome. I'm doing fantastically. How are you? You're a Grisham, and I love it. Optimization is king. That's what DLSS is about, because it has to upscale and downscale to make sure that it maintains. You know, everything's great. It's Friday. We love Friday. Thanks for coming in. It's great to have you here. And I know I'm a Grisham, but I just said Emma. But what's up, Grisham? Good, good. No, it's great to have you. Thanks for being here. Love you guys when you're here, especially. It's great to have you. We can have the conversation. We can go back and forth. I don't like this to be just another review of myself or just me talking on my own. Stream's going great. We got my old friends Beria and Gaius here. They are just consummate supporters. We're doing, and I say we, it is Emma? Okay, so what's up, Emma? I say we because anybody that follows me or anybody that subscribes to my channel, this isn't Twitter, or anybody that watches my streams, watches my videos, we're in this. This is not that BS, house arrest for no apparent reason that they call it COVID. This is legitimate. We are in this together. Wherever I go, I'm going to take all you guys with me. So that's the way it works. Oh, okay. Okay, so we're doing that? Okay. But anyway, So like I was saying, so it's not up to you can, but I'm not paying for anything right now. I'm sorry. No, you can go ahead. You can send me a link. But I'm not paying for anything right now. So I do my own stuff. But thank you anyway. So when it comes to optimization, I just find it funny when they complain about 30 frames per second, 60. Dude, it's the same game. I keep saying this. Is there a portion of the game where there are stick figures? Are there portions of the game that are taken out? Are there portions of the game that just don't run? Does it crash in certain areas? The answers are no. If the answers are no, then I mean, to me, yeah, I don't like. I played Metroid Prime 4 on 60 frames, 4K. I don't think it looks now. I don't have a 4K TV, but I don't think it looks any different. I would like to see it. Like I said, you can't dictate or determine frames per second after about 60 or 70. There's really no difference. You can tell 30 to 60 in terms of the smoothness of it, quality, and everything like that. But you can't tell 1080, 4K, same shit. I don't know. I can understand the sharpness, but I do appreciate my retinas. I don't like to burn them out. So I think in a way you're right, but it's a selling point, right? It's a selling point. Hey, look, we can upscale to 4K. Well, that's fantastic. I appreciate it. It's like my camera. My camera can go 4K, and then it just blows up everything. They should. Yeah, no, 4K, 8K, it comes down to sprites. So every single screen that you have allows a certain amount of sprites. Every sprite's a dot. Yeah, it can really only process up to, like you're saying, 1080 to 4K, yes. There is a clarity, a depth that you can't get from 1080. But 4K to 8K, I just want to get a 4K television. I'm probably going to get a 4K television next year. They'll probably be about $300 by then because they're going to be getting rid of all of them. Well, the whole 8K thing, that was Sony. Sony was creating 8K televisions, and then they tried to sell like, Sony PlayStation 5 could play up to 8K. That's fantastic, but who gives a shit when all I'm seeing is just a bunch of ugly fucking people in ugly fucking settings, which are identical to previous games you just released. And by the way, Sony doesn't sell by its exclusives. Sony is not Nintendo. Microsoft is not Nintendo. They sell cheaper PCs. It's funny because so many people want to say, well, the reason why people buy Nintendo consoles, tell me, genius, is because it's cheap. No, the reason why people buy Nintendo consoles is because they have the best games. Nintendo exclusives are the best games. That's just a fact. Yeah, exactly. Hey, when I was a kid, I freaked out when Super Mario Bros. 2, which was called Doki Doki Panic initially, when it had that anime cartoon ending where Mario saw it in his dreams, like you could see him sleeping. I thought that was incredible because I was so used to stupid sprites with like dot eyes and shit like that. So yeah, WWF No Mercy we thought was awesome. It looked so smooth and cool, and it was just polygons. You can't. No, it was a great game. We were getting off on Lara Croft. There wasn't one thing about her that looked real. We had to use our imaginations, but because of the fact we were so used to the sprites, it became real. Now she looks real. So, of course, they manned her down. So now she has smaller tits. She has, like, no hips. It's like, thank you for destroying Lara Croft for everybody. And let me repeat this one more time for the people that want to act like they're all so much more sophisticated and everything like that, the online influencers and everything. The reason why, one more time, Sophie Martin doesn't work as Lara Croft is because Sophie Martin is an attractive woman, but she is not hot, damn, drop dead gorgeous. And because of the fact that Lara Croft was originally built to be man playing with himself material, I'll try to keep myself somewhat PG-13. Yeah, no, Perfect Dark. Well, that was on GameCube exclusively anyway. So they should have just let Nintendo do that one, oversee that one. I mean, Microsoft has an exclusivity deal with Nintendo. For 10 years, they have to be releasing games on Nintendo. That was one of the controversies from last year where people are going nuts because I think the president of Microsoft was saying, I want to buy Nintendo. It's like, yeah, not happening, bro. They'll buy you out. Oh, by the way, just in case you're wondering, I was watching this thing about mixtape and somebody mentioned in the comments about how they hoped Nintendo would sue them. And everybody was like, oh, yeah, like the only time you would root for a Nintendo lawsuit and everything. And somebody said, well, Nintendo's chief shareholder is BlackRock. So me being who I am, because, of course, on the internet, BlackRock is the prime evil, and apparently they sacrifice children to Moloch and all that stuff. But BlackRock is an investment firm. So what that means is they just put money in things and get money back. Do you know what the percentage of Nintendo shares they own is? 7% of Nintendo shares. Now, that is higher than the Bank of Kyoto, which owns 4%. But don't forget, Nintendo recently bought out billions of their shares from the Bank of Kyoto so that they can own their own. Do you know Sony? It's up to 10%. So 10% of Sony's shares are owned by BlackRock. And about 8 to 9% are owned from Microsoft by BlackRock. So the vast majority of shareholding done in the video game industry by the 3 big video game companies, well, 2, Microsoft is completely out. Microsoft and Sony. It does give them that, but they can easily be overridden. Now, to be fair, games that Nintendo has released, like Fire Emblem Engage, did have a character that could be considered Western-based, but that was with a Japanese tilt. So, and they've done it before. But like I said, 7% as compared to 10% as compared to 8 to 9%. So BlackRock owns more shares in Sony and Microsoft specifically than in Nintendo. Sorry to burst that bubble. So they might have some say, but at this point, so is the Bank of Kyoto. But like I said, Nintendo took a lot of their shares back from the banks because they don't want to deal with banks, more or less. So I don't even know how much that has any relevance. But be that as it may, you believe what you want to believe. Nintendo still makes wholesome games. Nintendo's not Sony. Look at Sony's exclusives the last however many games. Everybody's ugly. The games are exactly the same, so they're lazy games. And just look at what they do with the main characters all the time. Hey, listen, however you want to live your life is however you want to live your life. I am not here. I'm not doing that. I want nothing to do with these conversations or people talking about someone's personal interests being a good or bad thing or representing anything. I'm just saying you live your life the way you want to live. You're not my kids. And whatever is your preference is your preference. Nobody can argue that. That's your life. That's who you are. And I appreciate everybody. I love everybody. I don't give a shit I don't care what you are. I only care about who you are. But I'm just saying. Resurgence of Ubisoft. Nintendo is going to make that possible. Yes. All right, guys. You enjoy it. Listen, I'd rather you be with your wife than be with me too. Always be with the wife, okay? Make her happy. But hopefully I'll see you next week. It's so great to have you guys. And, you take care of yourself and the lady. But yeah, no, Ubisoft, apparently, from what they're saying, the releases of the Star Wars game by Ubisoft and the release of the Assassin's Creed game gave them a real shot in the arm. So it helped. So Ubisoft, those games didn't really sell that well on the other consoles. They sold well on the Switch too. Or pretty well on the Switch too. Is it fucking Cyberpunk where 10% of total sales came from the Switch 2, even though it was released 5 years later? No. But it did help. And some people were talking about the possibility whether or not they would release Black Flags on the Switch 2. Well, Black Flags was originally released on the Wii U. So, yeah. I'm pretty sure it'll be on the Switch 2. But Ubisoft, they will never be what they were. That's never going to happen. And it's a shame because, some people say, well, they earned it. And the stuff that came out in their workspace was inappropriate and completely, there's no place for it, right? There's no place for it. To mistreat people just because of, their gender, your gender, or their orientation, whatever, there's no place for that. Everyone should be allowed to live the life they want to live. So I don't know if they're ever going to recover from that, especially from people who want to act like they're God's holy messenger when it comes to these companies, but then in turn will start complaining about people's orientation as a means to why things don't sell. You're so full of shit, all of you, okay? You do whatever you want to do with your life. Most people don't have a choice. So, let's just get the facts straight here about certain things. But be that as it may, like I was saying with Ubisoft, because of that, they probably won't. It's like Blizzard. There was one point where Blizzard was like the apex. They had Warcraft, World of Warcraft, they had Overwatch. And then it came out that they also had a toxic work environment, which I like to call my daily work environment, especially with all the fucking people I got to deal with. But they had a scenario where there was mistreatment of women, and they could, but I don't. Well, Nintendo has more power than the Xbox Series One S, whatever, the digital version. But because of the fact that Sony and Microsoft do focus too much on graphical processing, you see, what I say is you should always produce for the Switch 2 because that's the most popular console. That should be your number one priority, is to work with Nintendo. Because Nintendo's been there forever. It's going to be here forever. Sony, not so much. Microsoft will always be around selling PCs. Their gaming history is not all that abundant, and their gaming future is looking pretty damn bleak. So I don't know about Microsoft, but you should definitely start with the Switch 2 because that's the one that's the one the games will sell on. And then from there, you optimize it because it could be easy. It's like dumbing down. Although the Switch 2, it may not be able to be as strong on its own. The reason is because it's two consoles in one. Those are just one console. So it's easier to bring it to optimize it for them than it is to optimize it for Nintendo. So, and most likely moving forward, but yeah, that's what's probably going to happen. Companies are working more directly with Nintendo now, like From Software, Capcom was always pretty much a Nintendo sub-company. It wasn't specifically, but since the Nintendo Entertainment, Capcom's always been there. Tecmo too, but Tecmo's kind of eased off a bit, which bothers me because Tecmo has some decent games. They're called Koei Tecmo now or something like that, but it's still Tecmo. Konami needs to know its place. Not just the fact it needs to focus on Castlevania and Contra and not fucking Metal Gear Solid and stupid ass fucking Silent Hill. Because those were the games that made Konami what they are. But they also need to go back to their roots because they originally just were released on Nintendo consoles mostly, and that's where they got their popularity. Super Castlevania 4. Probably one of their greatest games ever made. Thank you, Nintendo. So pretty much any of the Japanese companies, like Bandai Namco and everything, a lot of what made them popular was Nintendo consoles themselves. So, oh yeah, no, definitely. It'll come out. Will I get it? No. It's going to get. I won't say definitely, but you never know. Listen, this Nintendo Direct that's coming up in the next couple of weeks, and I'm saying that. I don't care what everyone else is saying. I'm saying next couple of weeks. They're going to put it all together by then. And the reason why it's taking longer for games to produce, so it's taking longer for them to get the release dates. So this is why it's taking longer for the Nintendo Directs. That's why I'm saying that you're probably only going to get like 2 a year, like legitimate Nintendo Directs. Partner showcases are different. That's their partners. That's Bethesda, that's Capcom, that's Bandai Namco, that's Square Enix. These are partners of theirs. Indie showcases are different as well because those are independents. But when we're talking about just the general, what Nintendo themselves is doing, what Nintendo itself is doing, I should say, what all these other companies that aren't partnered with Nintendo, what they're doing, those directs probably get about 2 a year. Because it is going to take longer for them to produce these games and to get updates on them and everything. Because Nintendo doesn't just say, hey, a game's coming out. Nintendo tells you typically when they know for a fact, like Borderlands 4 has been on hold because it didn't sell worth a shit and it's a broken game. Most likely they're going to re-release it on the Switch 2 with some extra stuff. I would be shocked for a game that already has a physical copy somehow that was given a developer's showcase. I would be shocked it didn't get a Switch 2 release, that they just shut it down. Still in the works. It's just when it's going to come out, we don't know. But anything that's like a general, we got games coming out in the future, we got these games getting ported over and everything, those you'll probably get 2 a year. Maybe one in June and one in like September, November, or something like that. So that's pretty much what it's going to be because they need the information. So I think that this next Direct is going to be in a couple of weeks, probably before the end of May, and it is going to be explosive. The re-release of Star Fox shows that they are willing to redo their Nintendo 64 successful games, fully redone for a modern type of format. Whether or not Super Metroid is going to get re-released, I don't know, but I would definitely think Ocarina of Time will. Yeah, Dustbloods and Elden Ring are coming out this year. Elden Ring is probably coming out in a couple weeks. A few weeks. Like I said, the date said July, but we'll see what happens. That's what the rumor date is. Dustbloods will be this year. They've already verified it. They said they're both coming out this year. We're going to stay tuned for that. That is definitely going to be in this Nintendo Direct. Now, when the Nintendo Direct is announced, I don't know. Next week, as you can hear, I'm like choking on my own like throat here. Next week, we're going to be talking about Tales of Arise and whatever else pops up. But I want to thank you, Badia, for being here and everybody else. Just let you know, when somebody comes on your stream and you're not a popular channel and they start off with, how's the stream going and everything. I hadn't seen one of those in a while. It was usually just on Twitch. That's a bullshit profile. That's somebody trying to sell online material. That's not real. So I tried not to be too dismissive, but that was like, I don't want to say a bot, maybe it is, but when they start, how's the stream? Oh, I'm doing great. Hey, I'm an artist. Yeah, no, you can go, don't, for future reference, I'd prefer you don't try that one on me because I'm not paying for anything. But Badia, thank you for being here. I will be on tomorrow. I will see you, on my gaming channel. I will see you next week on this channel. We'll have a huge Friday next week. Tales of Arise Friday. I'm on Twitch and TikTok. Yeah, TikTok I don't even touch anymore. Twitch is CD the Bookman. I stream on Twitch every night, Eastern Standard Time, about 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and about 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. So if you want to drop on that, you're always welcome. And I'll be on tonight. I'll be on Twitch tonight, twitch.tv/CD the Bookman. I will be streaming Tonight's Resident Evil. It's Resident Evil Fridays. It's going to be Capcom Fridays until Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave comes out. And then we'll be doing Fire Emblem Fridays again. So it's going to be fun. I'm in Heisenberg's mansion. I've never beaten Village before. I played on the cloud and stopped running after a while. So we're going to be playing through Village. I'm at Heisenberg's mansion, whatever. If you want to jump on, you're more than welcome. I will see you then, or I'll see you tomorrow on my live stream. Again, next week, huge week, Tales of Arise on the Switch 2. We're going to be doing the video. We're going to be doing the preliminary review, and we're going to be doing the live stream. I'll see you all then. Thanks for coming by.